called the Minister to answer some questions. What questions do you want answered that you haven't already heard the answers to today?
Well, where do I start? We want to know virtually everything because we have virtually nothing. We just heard from Stuart Stevenson some, frankly, quite bizarre answers to your questions, and we'll try re-putting those questions to see if he can spend some time coming up with answers.
Specifically, what's bizarre?
Well, you asked questions about how much it would cost if the decision had been delayed, even until we had the Audit Scotland report, and he wasn't able to give a clear answer to that. So we'll be wanting to hear that. We also heard in your clip the First Minister talking about how they'd informed Parliament. Well, do you know how much information they gave us when they informed Parliament? 3 paragraphs, 15 lines in a letter, in what is a very complex decision.
But they say, now he said that he had a very good, tough deal. And if he can save taxpayers' money by getting that deal in place early, surely he's got to do that. He's got to get that in as soon as possible.
It might be a good deal, but no one else has any basis on which to judge it. They've slipped this out during a parliamentary recess. Well, my concern is that this is setting, not just setting, but continuing a very bad trend. Last year, my committee had to throw a strop in order to persuade the government's transport agency even to come and sit at our committee table and answer some questions.
For which the Minister apologised today and said it wouldn't happen on his watch.
But it did happen in the first place, and now we've seen a very important, very complex decision slipped out during a parliamentary recess, so we couldn't even discuss it. I'm very concerned that what looks like a transport department that seems reluctant to subject itself to parliamentary scrutiny, and that can't go on.
This is an option to renew a contract. It's not a new contract. He hasn't done anything wrong, has he? You'd accept that?
I don't know if this is the right decision or the wrong decision. I want to see the detail in order that the rest of us can judge. But one of the things that it does rule out is any possibility for a competitive process that would have included, for example, a public sector bidder. I'm quite open to the idea.
Do you think there would have been one?
I'm quite open to the idea of allowing a public sector bidder. In the past, the SNP has been open to that possibility as well. But the fact that we've now ruled it out, apparently, until 2014, I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned that it's premature. And even if this is a good deal, it could have been a better deal if we knew the detail of what Audit Scotland's going to tell us in just a few months' time. But you don't have any
power to change this, do you? You've got no powers to intervene when your committee questions this Minister.
What I'm concerned to do is establish the precedent that the Scottish Government is going to answer Parliament's questions. So far, it seems that the Transport Department seems reluctant to subject itself to those questions, let alone answer them.
But would you agree that with the First Minister's comments there, that they've done nothing wrong? They have played it by the book, they've informed Parliament, even if it was just 3 paragraphs. They've done the right thing. You just object to the tone, perhaps, of the way it was done.
They may have done this in a way that's technically legitimate. We'll find out that when we see the Audit Scotland report, but it certainly seems like bad practice to me to involve no one, to inform no one that this was even being considered. Today in the Chamber, the Minister wasn't able to tell us even when they'd begun contemplating this process, let alone some of the more factual detail that we really need to see. I'm going to make sure that we do see some of that in coming weeks.
All right, Patrick Harvey, please stay with us, because I know you've been interested in this next item. Finally, there was some agreement about council tax today. Holyrood spoke and in doing so said that there was an urgent need for changes to local taxation. It was all because of a Labour Party debate on local income tax, which was at times rather frosty. In the end, it was a Green Party amendment which carried the day. The amendment, submitted by Patrick Harvey, didn't pull any punches. It said that the existing system of local government taxation is discredited, bureaucratic and unpopular. It went on to call for an urgent need for substantial changes to the system of local taxation, and was passed by 65 votes to 61 with no abstentions, which amounts to only the second time that Holyrood has stated this position in the current Parliament. But don't expect an end to the council tax system anytime soon. Effectively, the amendment more or less calls for only further discussions on what should replace the council tax. But as we've seen in the last few months, there doesn't seem to be any clear idea about what that should be. Well, let's go back to Green MSP Patrick Harvey. Now, we know the Parliament wants change, but we don't know what change the Parliament wants. We're not really much further forward, are we?
I think we're further forward than we would have been if the Labour motion had passed unamended. The Labour motion would effectively have left us with the same impasse, a Parliament that's almost precisely evenly divided between those who support an income-based alternative and those who supported up till now the status quo. My motion makes it clear that the status quo is unacceptable, and it also lays out criteria against which we should judge any proposal. Fairness, local accountability, reduction of tax avoidance, and that's important as well, and also social, economic and environmental criteria.
Why is
which
that
I
important, the tax avoidance? Why do you say that's so important?
Well, because one of the major criticisms that I have of the local income tax proposal, and others share this, is that it would leave some people at the very wealthiest end of society paying nothing, and it would give greater incentives to more people to end up in that situation. I think it's important that we ensure that a truly fair system means that that kind of situation not only doesn't exist, but isn't increased, and that the current SNP proposals do risk that.
But you've got 5 parties, each seem to have a different idea, and because you can't agree on what form of, you know what you don't want, because you can't agree on the form of taxation you do want, you're going to get left with a council tax, aren't you?
I don't think so. We've made it clear.
Well, how's it going to move forward?
Well, what's wrong in the way you've summed that up there is you said that there are 5 parties, each with a different idea. The problem is that the Labour Party in particular and the Conservative Party have not said what their idea is. They've talked about little tweaks at the edges, but nothing substantial in the way of reform. Today's decision makes it clear that those of us, myself and others, who support a property element but a fairer one, have to come forward with constructive and positive proposals rather than just naysaying what the SNP and the Liberal Democrats have to say. There are criticisms there, but we have to have something more positive.
So who would you go in with? I mean, land value taxation is your idea. Whose
Yes.
ideas are closest to yours? Because that's probably not going to you're not going to win the day with your number in Parliament.
Well, land value tax is, I think, a positive proposal. It's one that does satisfy the criteria which now the majority of Parliament has signed up to. And it's basically a fairer version of a property-related tax. So if those who support a property-related tax want to talk to us about how to build those ideas in, they can. But if the other side want to talk to us about that, that's possible as well. Land value tax is a positive proposal. If others have positive proposals, they should start making them. We can't wait another 3 years till the next parliamentary election before we resolve this one.
Patrick Harvey, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
Let's take a look at some of the newspapers. Alarm, says the Herald, as the scale of teenage drug use. According to a survey published tomorrow, 1 in 10 Scottish 15-year-olds regularly use cannabis and thousands are heavy users. On the side, the story that Newsnight covered earlier, the on-off resignation of Angela Smith, the PPS to Treasury Minister Yvette Cooper over her concerns about the abolition of the 10p tax rate. And hope for green power, the chief executive of the National Grid's meeting with Alex Salmond, which could result in an overhaul of charges for entry to the grid. And the Scotsman headline, too white, too male, is a Scotsman splash, reference to the state of the country's judiciary, the body that selects judges and sheriffs. The Judicial Appointments Board is to carry out a major investigation. And that's all from me. Thanks for watching. Bye.